Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today's special guest is Pete. You know him from Instagram for Pete's Diary. And if you have Instagram and you have a guitar, you probably have seen Pete recommended because he's always jamming to something. How you doing today, Pete?
Doing good, thank you.
It's a pleasure. You are a great young guitar player, totally up and coming, and you've done a lot of really good stuff. I want to talk about your playing. I know you just actually just played a gig. I know you're working on some songs in your band. So I want to jump into that. I want to hear more about that myself. But for people that don't know who you are, if you could give a little mini bio to get people's little knowledge there, that'd
Yeah,
be
so,
great.
so my name is Peter Dankleson. I'm 20 years old, from around the Chicago area, and been playing guitar for over 5 years. And yeah, I was born with a rare medical condition called golden heart syndrome. So missing my left ear, and you know, have only gone through 30 surgeries. So yeah, kind of a yeah, yeah. Life isn't too interesting. Yeah, not a lot going on.
Well, you have a good spirit about it, and it's very inspirational to people. And I think you've taken, something that may have been something really bad for some people to really, you've taken it. A good choice. It's you, but it's not who you are. It's a part of who you are. It's not who you are. And
Exactly
you're,
right.
and you're showing, adversity and tragedy, but you can also do this because aside from what you're doing, I mean, you're just on your own. You're a fantastic guitar player.
Thank
That's
you.
why we're having this. You came into my feed because of other reasons, but the truth is, our conversation is based on your guitar playing.
Yeah, yeah.
The side story is you've done some, major surgeries and some adversity, but
Mhm.
this is a music show, and I want to showcase your awesomeness on that. Um,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of your guitar. So let's talk about your Instagram and your riffing. How do you keep up? Like, how are you doing that? Because you on Instagram, it's Pete's Diary. If you haven't seen it, subscribe to him. Quite like all the time. You're always getting new riffs, new songs, new jams.
Mhm.
How you doing that? Like, are you coming up every day? You're thinking, all right, are you trying to do a feed? What's your pace for that show? Your Instagram?
Well, okay, so yeah, Instagram. Let's see. So, basically, I have a little list of stuff in my the notes app on my phone. Like maybe I'll hear something on the radio or like a tuner. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, I haven't covered this in a while. And I'm at the point on Instagram now too, where it's been going on so long. I'm like, well,
right.
I haven't played this song in, maybe a couple months or something. And
Mhm.
it might be an iconic too, like maybe Comfortably Numb or something like that. And
Yeah,
I'm like, well, it might have been, because people's attention span on social media isn't exactly that long. So I'm kind of
no,
like, oh, okay, maybe it's time to, do this tune again. And hopefully I can do it a little bit better if, people saw it from earlier. So it's kind of that sometimes. But honestly, yeah, that's pretty much kind of how it goes.
it's well, it's interesting because with social media and the reason I ask also because your age, there's really no right way to do social media. And you being so much younger and you listen to so many classic iconic rock bands is what you do. I mean, rock guitar, generationally is a little bit different now.
Yes.
So your ear your is on symbolically, of course, or
Yeah. Yeah.
is on, you know, that point, you know. So and how you put the songs up, and you're right, people don't hear it after you may have had it in the feed 5 weeks ago, and they're not going to go back and hear it. Most people won't. People like me, guitar players like me, will probably go through your feed and be like, "There goes another hour of our life watching Pete playing guitar to riffs I can't play." Great, thanks, Pete.
Yeah, the Instagram
Um,
rabbit hole, it's definitely kind of a trap.
it is, but that's one of the better traps of to enjoy, and that it's a good tool. It's because racially, that's how I came across your playing,
Mhm.
and then from there, I learned more about you and the health condition you struggled, which makes it even more inspirational.
Mhm.
Um, but you've also got a band. You just played out the other night. Congratulations!
Yes, thank you. We just played our first show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
how
yeah,
was it?
it was great. So basically we have a trio project going on right now. It's called, the Peter Dankleson trio. And no, it was great. We had like we were an opening act. We played like a quick 20-minute set, and but it was great. Like we had everything, planned out from the first, note to the very end. We kind of knew how everything was going to flow, and we worked on transitions and all that.
Excellent.
So it was great to put that together. And we've been working on some original tunes, and we debuted two of them, or I guess three for the first time live. So it was very exciting because we've been working on quite a few of these tunes for a really long time.
Yeah.
And finally play them in front of an audience and kind of get a reaction to it, which it seemed like people really enjoyed them. It was very exciting to just finally get that reaction from someone other than my family who's heard it like 50 times. They're like, my gosh, you've been playing the same riff for like an hour. Can you?
I know, it's so good. It's so good. You don't understand. I'm playing it. One of the things is what I really love about you as an artist and why we're talking is because you're not just an Instagram. Because problem is the numbers don't always translate. You're not always going to be the person that's going to play in your bedroom, and you can do it over and over and over again. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's almost like an X factor or performance thing, doing that strictly. And that's what some people do. I mean, that's not like the kind of artist I listen to. I'm more of a performer, a recorder, a live person that does the full thing. And I like that. And I was very excited to see that you were going out and doing a gig already.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So you're not relying on just being an Instagram star. You're working on a music career that's going to be, a brick and mortar. Hopefully, you keep building on that, recording and touring. And as the COVID apocalypse moves around in the next couple of years, you're a young guy. That that's just social media is just a piece of the pie for you. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it's really exciting because we have this following that's building and building. And we've shared a couple like teasers of stuff online of that we've been working on stuff, and people seem to be really excited. So that's really, it's a motivation boost for sure. It's exciting to see that people want to hear these tunes and are eager to hear them. So it's great.
Well, that's the next transition because you can be like, and people can look at the facts and be like, I think you're one of the few people I think that ACDC follows and stuff. And these are some great flattering things, but when it really comes down to it, what else are you going to do besides, what I'm saying?
100%. Yep.
And that's a transition it's almost as well. I'm not gonna say it's harder getting followers on social media because even the big artists can't get that many followers because it doesn't translate the same. So this is the big thing for you.
Yeah.
What are we planning on? We're going to do so. The goal is you're going to do some recording and releasing, or website stuff, or what?
It's kind of a little all over the map right now. Well, currently,
well, that's every artist. It's a welcome to the industry, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through so many other ideas already, but currently, what the plan is for right now, I think we're going to try and do a decently sized EP. I'd like to try and get a few more tunes recorded. We have I think 3 songs that are sounding really solid so far, but I like to get maybe 3 or 2 more done or something.
I think 6 is a good solid for an EP.
That's what I've been telling the other guys. I'm like, they're like, what about 5? I'm like, let's do 6. I'm like, that seems like enough,
I like a big full album. So when I used to love so if you're gonna do an EP, it's gotta be half of it, close to 30 minutes. Kind of like Van Halen, the first Van Halen albums were a tight. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I know.
It felt almost like an EP, but it was so fast. That's a good product to do. That's a good, it's perfect.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I feel the same way. Yeah. Because originally we're like, well, let's do it could be an 8-song album. It's a good size. Keeps you engaged for a good amount of time. But then it's like, well, okay, maybe we'll scale it back a little bit because I don't know. It's probably going to change 50 more times. We'll see what the final product's going to be.
Well, I don't think there's a wrong. I think no one knows the way to do it right now. You know what I mean? Sometimes they'll hit the right group of their audience and they'll buy it streaming, or they'll buy it a special vinyl edition, or and it might be the same artist next time doesn't do it because it's everywhere. You know what I mean? But first you got to kind of do what you love. You're like, all right, do I like doing vinyl? I got to make sure I make enough vinyl so I'm happy, but I don't fall in the hole making the costs. I got to make a little bit of profit at least make it a wash. So I do that. The old movie stars would be they do a big movie and then you do a small movie, independent one. You do one for me, then you do one for them. So you make sure you find a balance of what you want to put out for you, and your legacy. You want to keep all your song rights. You want to sign nothing over.
Right. Yeah. We've been going down that route too.
Generationally, go watch all the behind the musics and get a notebook. think of all the bad things that have happened so you can learn from it.
Mhm.
How long have you guys been a band?
Oh man. So basically, well, it's funny. We've all known each other for quite a long time. We all went to a school of rock together. Actually, our drummer, um, he taught at the school for a while, so I kind of knew him more as a teacher at the time. But then, I honestly, it's been so long, I kind of forget how the conversation happened. But anyway, somehow the two of us started jamming together.
Yeah.
And kind of when the pandemic hit, that was when I kind of started to really get into riff writing, or
Mhm.
kind of trying to start to come up with stuff. And I went over to his house and I'm like, well, pulled out the voice memos app, and I'm like, well, here's some ideas that I have, and I'm like, there's this one that I feel pretty strongly about. And he's like, okay, let's go for it. So we kind of jammed that for a while, and then kind of kept building a little bit and had a couple demos going. But basically, that was kind of how it had been pretty much until, oh man, the end of maybe the end of May. I don't know.
Yeah.
So at some point in May,
Yeah.
because it was like, okay, am I gonna sing on this thing and play guitar? And I'm not that confident in my singing abilities. I could do some blues stuff, but the rock thing, I'm like, I'm gonna need some help in this. So we both know somebody.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. His name's Mac, and he's a guitar player as well, and he sings. And he came over here one time, and we just kind of jammed together, and it felt great, and we all had a good time.
Good.
And what was it? And it's like, okay, great, we got the singer. That's like, to me, that was like the hardest thing. Like, okay, well, let's see who could we find as a bass player. And there were we tried looking, but nothing really worked out. And Mac he's a guitar player at heart, right? So I'm like,
Right.
well, he wouldn't want to play bass, but I mean, we kind of just tossed it up in the air. He's like, if we can't find anyone, I'll just do it. I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And he picked it up. So now it's the trio thing, which I
Yeah,
think
like
really,
a power trio. Yeah, it is.
yeah, you don't see too many of those. So I think that's kind of a fun, sort of more unique thing. It's exciting.
You may be singing again though down the road, whether you do solo or other bands or something. I would
Yeah, I mean,
I
maybe
would
like,
work on that in the back of your mind to keep that. You know what I mean?
yeah, like a blues thing or something. I think.
You never know. Come on. Your rock history. There's some singers that they're like, I kept not wanting to sing, and I kept having problems after a year or this or that, or just had a soul thing and didn't work out, and you know. So now you just kind of keep working your voice and keep planning and thinking about it. Now,
Mhm.
it may be the cards for you because you're such a young star. So when you're playing and you're songwriting,
Mhm.
are you feeling the influence of your artists? Do you feel like it overflows, or how are you like how are you doing it without being a copy? Because I have not heard your original music yet.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
So
There's
to emulate and learn, like I mean, stuff like I was talking to you about, like back in the day, the other punk rockers, they wouldn't say it, but at the time, a lot of these guys loved Bob Dylan, and they're like, that's embarrassing because nothing's embarrassing. But at the
right,
time, it's like you're not cool. But the truth is,
right, yeah,
Bob Dylan was very punk rock because he sang anti-establishment. He did what he wanted. He went from acoustic to electric, which upset
yeah,
his fans. But that's kind of punk. Like he did what he wanted, and
right,
so in a way, he influenced a generation of punk and thrash metal. Bob Dylan acoustically.
anyway,
So you can learn and be influenced from an artist without sounding like them, which
yeah,
kind of leads me to, how are you challenging as a new artist?
yeah. That's kind of the tricky thing, because there's some things that I do here too. So I'm like, man, I wish I wrote that. And then there's other things that's like, well, what if in this song, instead of if they did this, what if Angus did this instead, or something like
Right.
that. You kind of try something, you're like, oh, that sounds a little interesting. And then you kind of, it's like, well, what if, such and such happened, and you kind of compile a bunch of stuff together. They kind of come out with something that sounds just a little bit different. Um, but yeah, especially with the classic rock thing, some of the scales and stuff that you can do. There is some things that kind of sound a little bit different. Like this one tune we're doing. Actually, I think there's a little clip that we shared online. It's
Mhm.
called "Another Lonely Night." That was just like one of the, it's like a little clip of the song that we had. And one, it's kind of straightforward, and then it kind of goes into the solo section, and it does these hits, which sound a lot like Whole Lot of Love. And I remember when me and Ryan kind of jammed it, it was like, it was like it just kind of kept flowing. We kept writing, and it kept flowing and flowing. It's like, well, okay, what if this section? What if it did these kind of hits? Because it just kind of it felt natural. So like it, I'm like I could definitely understand the it does sound like a lot of love, but at the same time, it felt natural.
It's also how you do it though. Some artists you like that's just ripping off the artist, and then some people you do it. You're like, I can totally hear the influence, but I love it. And I love what they're doing with it. Like live, you can do a song and you can break into a whole lot of love and then go back into your song again.
Right.
Like you're doing like an homage and you're owning that. There's I can name I'm not gonna name one now, but other artists that have actually done songs that are influenced by the Beatles, and it sounds like they'll do it because it's not ashamed of. You're owning it and you're saying this is just a little nod towards something that inspired me, or how it fell in the key. I mean, there's only so many notes. There's only so many. There might be enough pedal sounds and apps at this point to make sounds changes, but there's only a certain amount of notes. That's never going to change.
Right.
So if we stopped writing after all the songs, nobody would have played guitar after the Beatles wrote all the albums, because they pretty much wrote every pop song you hear and everything at some point. You know what I mean? You're like, I think I heard that in the Beatles. Your love for ACDC is pretty well known.
Oh yeah. I think it's
was that probably your first big band that you really got into?
Yes, they were definitely they're definitely kind of the band for me that kind of inspired. Yeah, they kind of inspired everything really.
So like the easy questions, everyone knows that you're the influence and stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you think your favorite ACDC album is that's not popular? Like, what do you think that the people don't like that you love?
Oh,
we'll go off tracks with this conversation. We're not 100% looking for this.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the hardcore fans like myself, I think they were very Power Edge. I mean, that album, the back, there's something special about that album. I mean, there's a song off of that album called Down Payment Blues, and I mean, it's a good song and a really great guitar solo when Eddie Van Halen says it's one of his favorite solos of all time. So I mean, I think that kind of speaks to me. That kind of speaks of how kind of revered that album is by a lot of fans.
They what's fun about ACDC is the tightness and the sound of them that they do, and it almost seems like it'd be so simple, but it's so simple that it's brilliant in a way that you can't listen. Well, outside the Ramones, I really can't listen to many bands that have that same kind of groove that sounds so similar in every song, but they have a niche nuance in it enough where it's a totally different song.
Right.
And I'm fine with that. And they're not changing up amps or guitars, Like if you ever see like a rig rundown or something of Angus and stuff, it's pretty similar. Like it's which is fantastic. And which we back to you as a young artist when you're writing songs, it's like, how much are you going to do with, are you going to be the guy with a million pedals? And it's not wrong, because I love guys that have a million pedals too. I'm a fair artist. I have a different sound for every song. Or like, again, is it going to be like just where it goes with the songs? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to find your way for a tone? Really tone chasing. Are you tone chasing right now?
A little bit. I mean, you could fall into that world forever. You're going to be just running in circles forever. It's like, oh man, I had this SG and Marshall JCM 800. It's like, but I mean, I have it's a Jared Gates Nichols. It's his signature amp, kind of heading back here in the corner, and then and then just I don't know. I have a couple guitars like that, kind of bounce around between stuff a little bit. And
You feel you kind of have your sound a little bit right now? What you think is your sound?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, you can have all the scary stuff, but what it really comes down to is the fingers. It's all in the hands.
Well, Eddie's proved that, right? I mean, Eddie's proved that.
100%. Yeah, both hands.
Well, right. And have you heard like people be like, I finally had my chance? You'll have a Nuno Betancourt or whatever. You've heard the stories, and they'll be like, I was with Eddie, and I was in his rig. He literally just played, and he handed me the guitar, and then I played his guitar because I wanted to sound like him, and I did not sound like Eddie Van Halen. I did not sound like him on his guitar through his rig, because or he'll pick up my guitar and Simon or thing, and he sound like Eddie Van Halen through it.
Right. And I think, I think also kind of a similar story. I think Ted Nugent kind of shared something like that too. I think I remembered hearing something like he said, Eddie picked up his Birdland and played through his amp and voila, played Eruption right there or something like that. And it
Yeah.
sounded like him. And, he played Eddie's Strat through his amp and it was, yeah, it sounds. So it was, yeah, it really is all in the hands.
I mean, it holds credence when you talk about artists that we know, because there's a podcast that I think Helen, Weasel Zappos podcast that talks, these artists are breaking it down, and they all have a similar story where it's fantastic because these artists and they have their own sound. So when somebody's established, their sound when you hear it, and they try to redo somebody else's, it carries a lot of weight. They're like, they can't even.
Yeah. It's fun to do that. It's fun to kind of chase it a little bit and just kind of see what you can do. But ultimately, when it comes down to, even if you do get the amp settings, it comes down to the nuance of what they're doing in the picking hand and in the fretting hand. There's that kind of thing you got to factor into.
Well, yeah, and it's just it's fun. You don't want to lose yourself in it too, because
right.
But as a songwriter though, having your own sound and not worrying about too much about it,
right,
and letting it evolve. I mean, Eddie's an easy example because he was the anomaly that had at his age, which is close to your age, had a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That we still talk about to this day. I mean, to come across a sound that's your sound that can't replicate. Nowadays, people are still just dissecting it. It was huge. But as you write as a songwriter, even his songs change. So your sounds are going to kind of change too, I think, unless you find a real riff that you like, and that's going to be it.
Oh yeah, we have this one song that we've been working on, and originally it was kind of like one of those, like, to me it made me think of like Hot for Teacher. It was like this blazing, it was a really fast, like a really up tempo thing. And everyone else is like, dude, it's fun, but it's gotta slow down a little bit. And I'm like, really? And then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that now. It was fun while it lasted, but yeah.
You pace yourself, right?
Yes.
Just gotta think about, like, I think the only thing I would say, looking back now, if I would say I was like a new artist or a new singer, I would think we need to write our songs in a lower register, because every artist nowadays, they're like, I wish I'd written a lower key because I'm not that young 20-year-old singing anymore. But like as a guitar player, you can do whatever you want. You can do it forever.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
As long as your fingers will let you.
Right.
When you're writing songs, are you doing it? How are you creating? Like, where's your music? Is it coming from an idea from you hearing a movie? You watch a movie, you get an idea from melody. Are you writing an acoustic? Is it a mixture? How's your creation process?
Let's see. For me, honestly, well, one of the big things, of course, is jamming. I love jamming with Ryan, my drummer. Just kind of seeing, we'll just kind of throw something on, or maybe, to me, riffs are rhythmic. So to me, drums, jamming with drums is like, that's like the big thing of how I come up with stuff. So like, I might hear Ryan playing a tempo, and I'm like, hey, keep that going, and maybe I'll think of something, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but just kind of, hit record and voice memos and listen to it, see if it sticks or not. But my big thing is, there's so much stuff on YouTube, and I have a metronome app on my phone as well. So you move the thing around and kind of, if you have a drum beat in your head or whatever, you're tapping the foot, you're just kind of thinking, okay, what's that tempo, and you kind of find it until it matches and just kind of see what pops out. The other thing is, on YouTube, there's all these kind of looped tracks. So you could find like, if you're thinking of like, 180, that's like a common, rock tempo, 180 BPM. You just kind of type it in on YouTube, rock beat, 180 BPM. Drum. And just kind of go, you got to go through a couple of tracks because some of them, don't sound that great. And then you find one that kind of, actually sounds pretty good and kind of, you can kind of get into it a little bit. You just kind of riff around, just improvise a little bit and see what you come up with. That's a lot of fun. I
like that. And see, because generation, this is another interesting piece, because like back, I started playing guitar actually, I was school for recording, but 5-6 years ago I started playing again. My kids play. I had them playing, but I used to sing in bands when I was younger, but always had some interest. If I had, but looking back and not being like, kids, like the ability to play YouTube videos and play guitar is so interesting now, because that's why I picked it up. It was so much, I could see it without, you know what I mean? I was not the guy that can play by ear. I can't do a record backwards. I couldn't. That's why I didn't play guitar then.
Mhm.
But I can go on YouTube, excuse me, and I can watch and learn enough to where I can enjoy it. You're a different level player, and you'll be able to use it as a tool. And generationally, a lot of it's the tool of the younger generation now. It's really kind of helped advance guitar playing a lot.
Mhm.
So what's interesting is have you done like a balance of having, maybe when you first started, you have some teacher or have a friend teach you? Like, have you done a mixture of it? Like, what was the?
Yeah, so I mean, originally, like when I did pick up the guitar, I just kind of went on YouTube and looked up, some of the
Mhm.
chords. And like the first song that I ever learned, it was the ACDC song "Live Wire," and that was a great beginner tune because it is a pretty simple tune. It's just like just A, E, and B, and
Mhm.
it keeps going. Even the little breakdown that Angus is doing, kind of in the middle of the song, it's a pretty easy thing to get under their fingers. And I remember, learning that tune, and I was so excited that I had this this little lead
Yeah.
under my finger, and I'm playing it over and over. And Mom comes down, and she's like, "Man, can you play something else?" um, but yeah, so I mean, YouTube, I kind of got started on that. And then there was a School of Rock that opened like 5 minutes from where we lived. And then I started taking lessons there and got involved with a performance group there all throughout the rest of high
Okay,
school.
I was going to ask you about that. So performance group, that must have really been a great way to hone your
That was
chops,
my,
huh?
that was my first experience playing with people. Like at the end of, I'd been playing for a year, like a little over the year, kind of at the end of the summer.
Hmm.
Um, that was when the School of Rock opened. So I kind of been off on my own, kind of playing for over a year. And then the School of Rock opened and they had a camp going on. And basically, you learn like 4 or 5 tunes, and then you put on a show for your parents at the end of the week. And it was really exciting for me because that was my first
Yeah.
time playing with people. So, we did like what did we do? We did Back in Black and Living After Midnight by Judas Priest. I remember doing that, and I think like We Will Rock You by Queen and stuff like that. And yeah, that was my first time playing with people, so that was very exciting. It was really cool.
That's a great experience. It's funny. I've talked to a few people actually now that have done some school rock,
Yeah,
and they're players now, and they do a lot of rock. Feels like school rock is actually, besides you say rock, you can say rock and roll and you say you're a rock star, but like musicians that are top 40 and pop, we could call rock stars. So the name rock is thrown around, but I feel like the
yeah.
school rock is actually doing a lot of actual rock.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
rock songs are still like the classic staples of like, you know, if you're gonna be a rock musician, you need to do some ACDC. Like just like it's like the rule book of rock, like just like the Ten Commandments, and ACDC and Van Halen, and you know what I'm saying? Priest.
Right. Yeah, like in the performance group, uh, I was in the house band, and we do all like the local shows around town and all that, and it was lots of fun because we were playing all these places and stuff, and we were like we jump into like some Green Day tunes, and then we do like Oh Well by Fleetwood Mac, the Peter
Wow.
Green song.
Yeah, I know.
And then,
Peter Green.
yeah, and then we did like Carry On My Wayward Son, Kansas. So it was like all
But
this.
that's good because like unless you had your parents were like, hey, use Peter Green, like that's a little bit deeper of a guitar player. I mean, and if you know Peter Green, Peter Green is an awesome,
Oh yeah, he was
right?
amazing.
But a lot of people don't know Peter Green
Mhm.
from probably I'd say almost like from 30 years old back, like outside of being a musician. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah.
So that's an exposure that's pretty cool because that's some roots you're learning.
Oh man, I mean, honestly, I think one of my favorite things about having picked up the guitar is really kind of not only learning the music and learning the riffs, but really kind of learning the history of everything. I mean, found my love with ACDC, and then you find out, Angus talks about, when he and Malcolm went to see the Yardbirds. And,
There you go. That's what I used to do too. The original deep dive for me would be like, who does my artist like? Oh, they like that. Then who do they like? Next
and
thing you know, you're listening to
hundred
cassettes from like,
percent. I mean, right now, I mean, just like a few minutes before I hopped on here, I was listening to old Delta blues stuff from the 20s and 30s. Like I've been really kind of fascinated with Charlie Patton, one of the
yeah,
old, like kind of honestly to me, he's like the father of like American music. I mean, that term's for him had kind of been thrown around a little bit, and I think
right.
it's kind of true.
It's
And
also
then
fun just
I found,
the rawness too, right? Though of like hearing the recordings like back then when it's
uh,
literally just a microphone and it's just you can just hear it like you're
that
right there.
that to me is kind of the most fascinating thing.
Powerful, right?
It's very powerful, but it takes some getting used to because
Yeah,
you're
it's
used
raw,
to you're used to kind of how I don't know if fancy is the right word, but just how clean everything sounds
polished,
now.
and sterile. I think
Wow.
and that was one of the battles. Like when I started going on and recording and the battle, me listening to music and stuff. Like I'll say with records, I don't have many records past. I'm a record player, past the like late or mid '90s. I have some. I'm not as I mean, just because the way things were recorded, and then how it transferred over to analog.
Yes,
There's a
yeah,
whole sound difference and a warmth or this or that. And there's a polished sound that I don't want to hear coming through my stereo
right,
for a record
right.
because they're almost going sterile, or like the '80s got really bad with a little bit of reverb. Sorry, sarcasm. I don't get hit by a lightning bolt, but you know what I'm saying. There's some great
Yes.
albums I can't listen to because it just sounds all reverby. Sounds like they're.
Mhm.
So when you listen to this stuff, which I've always kind of stuff from way back originally, it's very raw. It's very emotional. It feels almost personal, like you're kind of you can feel it,
Mhm.
which says a lot for a song.
Yeah, well, like it's funny because I mean, I was kind of, I remember, doing kind of that deep dive, and then, the first guy you find is Robert Johnson. That's kind of the big name in the
Yep.
Delta blues type thing.
Yep.
And I remember hearing like Sweet Home Chicago, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know the song. I didn't really like mind the scratchiness at first, but then like with headphones on, it did kind of, it was a little bit annoying. It's like, okay, I get it, I respect it, but okay,
Mhm.
I don't know when I'm going to listen to it again. But a few months ago, I don't remember how it happened, but somehow I found Charlie Patton, and I was just kind of listening to some of these tunes and kind of going, okay, it's really neat. And then I had heard a song called High Water Everywhere, Part One. And it kind of caught my attention. I'm like, okay, this sounds really cool. And then he starts doing something like kind of almost a slap type
Yeah.
technique on the guitar. And that really kind of opened up everything. And then he kind of did this other, it was almost like a rock sounding riff type thing he did kind of during the
And you
verses.
remember, you remembering he did it all without Instagram or seeing other players do it. He's creating his own sound.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. And to me, I was just like, is he hitting the guitar or is he tapping his foot? I'm like, does he have, does he have shoes on? Is he tapping his foot? Or is he just smacking the guitar really hard? What's going on here? And so I repeated it, and now I'm like, oh, okay. During the first part of the verse, I think he's slapping it, and then when he's going over here, I think that's when he's tapping his foot. Yeah, he's just kind of, yeah.
there's some good stuff out there. Let me tell you what we're talking blues. If you haven't heard, the Johnny Winters, he has an album called Third Degree. I have that on vinyl. He plays a steel guitar.
Mhm.
Check it out.
Yeah,
Really, it's like my favorite Johnny Winter album. It's called Third Degree. It's the best. He has Shake Your Money Maker on it, which the Crows did a cover.
yeah,
But it goes back. It's good.
yeah.
Um,
Johnny was amazing. Yeah.
he's great too. But that's probably my favorite Johnny Winter album. Um, it's so crazy to hear like somebody like of your age like listening to that, and it's good because we need it because it can't go away. We need that
Right,
into
right.
rock. Because rock's changing. Rock's become a weird commodity. I think
There's there's some bands that have like there's a new up and coming. I mean, there's quite a few bands out there that have really kind of there's none of the what's the word? There's none of like the funny side to it. Like there's bands that I've heard that have really kind of hit the rawness and
yep.
the to me kind of the pure essence of rock and roll, just kind of that rawness and that excitement and that energy. Like Dirty Honey, to me they're kind
Yep.
of
Well, there are bands out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying there's less of them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's good to see continually more artists still doing it
yes,
because it's one of the few types of music where everyone's going to sit and play in the room together live.
right,
You know what I mean? You actually appreciate other musicians. You're inspired by what's going on with you, the energy of your peer. You know what I mean? You have fights. It's a relationship. It's a 4 or 5 way marriage. It's a
yeah,
living, breathing monster. It's malleable. You know what I mean? And a lot of times that's created some of the best rock albums we've ever heard.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think a lot of those best albums have been heard if it was one artist sitting on his bed with 1 million views on Instagram. You know what I
right,
mean? There's nothing there. There's no push pull. You know, there's very few artists that are that good that could create that atmosphere of chaos
Right. Yeah.
and then put down some kind of crazy vinyl opus where you'd be like, oh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's been fascinating picking your brain a little more than I usually hear. I want to end on a note that I want to talk a little bit about your guitars.
Mhm. Yeah.
What do you got for setups? What do you got for some of your gear? What's some of your favorites? Some highlights? What you
Yeah.
playing?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So actually, I could.
You grab them. You grab them.
Yeah, I can just hop off camera for a quick second.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll start. All right, let's start with this one right here. The SG.
That one I love. You need to adopt me and leave that in your will.
I
love that one.
This guitar. This was kind of the first like good guitar that I really got, and I love it. You know, and I think I've messed around with a lot of stuff, but for me, I think the SG is the most comfortable. But again, it's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like I was kind of, I'm like, do I really want to embrace the SG? Because Angus is already such a huge influence on me. I'm like, would it be like seen as like, an Angus copycat? Or, it's like, how do you.
Right. I actually don't see that when I see you play it, though. I don't. I actually, because also I'm a big Zappa fan. And Frank Zappa played the SG. So that's where my SG love comes from, is from, I love ACDC too, of course, but
yeah,
is Zappa,
Yep. Yeah.
So I didn't see you as a rip for doing that either. I just saw you as just loving the SG because it's an awesome guitar.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And they're very comfortable. Because I mean, like Les Pauls, I love how they sound, but I mean, I'm very short and not exactly the strongest guy in the world. So yeah, having a Les Paul on your shoulder for like a few hours or so, you do kind of feel that the next day. So the SG to me is just okay. It's lightweight. You get very easy access to the upper frets, and it's kind of got that Les Paul type sound a little bit. You can kind of sort of get into that territory a little bit.
Well, it's got a great warm sound. I think it's flexible, and it can always give the clean sound. I feel like always reflects back to the best part of some of the 70s rock records. Like a nice nod. You wear a schoolboy outfit, then I'm going to question you. But you're okay just with the SG. If you dress like a schoolboy, then I'm going to be like, I don't know, that's kind of an Angus thing.
Yeah.
When the outfit.
Sure, the strap helps too.
Yeah. It's good to love your artist. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it stock pickups?
Everything on it is stock. Nothing's been changed. Yeah.
Which is usually great on an SG, because usually SGs have that sound straight out of the box.
Right. Well, I mean, I got this kind of, quite a little while into playing, like, I don't know, at least quite a few months. It was a Christmas gift, and I didn't know anything about modding or any of that stuff. I'm like, I got an SG like Angus and Iomi, so I was very excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, it can be hard because it's got such a good sound about modding that one. I don't know. That's a hard one.
Oh no! I mean, I love. I mean, it's just I mean, I've probably written most of the songs that we're working on this guitar.
Yeah.
It's
See, I mean,
really inspiring. Yeah. There's just something. I mean, even like the neck is all. I don't know how hard it is to see, but it's all starting to get worn down.
Worn in, nice. Yeah, I like an SG. I like the neck. The necks aren't too fat either. I don't like a big neck. I don't have big hands, so the big baseball bat necks are hard to play for me, because I feel like I'm always overstretching the notes. And at that point, you're always thinking. If you're always thinking by a split second, you're already off with the next note. You know what I'm saying? Right. Well, and the key is to be ahead.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing with me is, with my fretting hand, I don't have any muscle in my left thumb due to what I was born with. So I can't really like Hendrix and Billy Gibbons. They grab their thumb around the neck sometimes and hold down a root note and kind of play something over it. Like we at our gig the other night, we played Sharp Dressed Man, and I kind of have to improvise a little bit. I just kind of use my first finger over that that C kind of shape and kind of reach around, kind of dance.
Honestly, and I can't do it. I have no reason why I can't use my right thumb. And I can't do it. And you improvise better than I do. So that's what I'm saying.
Right. I'm like, I could see how you could do it, but I physically just cannot do it.
But some of those are just people have this anomalies. I mean, like you see like Steve Vai's hands when he plays.
Yeah.
You see like the stretch he does like on a guitar. Are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah, a lot of those shred guys. I mean, like Eddie too.
Yeah.
I was looking at the Ice Cream Man solo one time, and the way he opens that about, he's like, he's doing what now?
Right. I mean, that's such a thing. And be like, oh, it's really good at guitar. Like, I'm like, yeah, but then once you play guitar and you do what some of these guys do, and you see like the stretch or like a weird note or some like weird inversion that doesn't even make sense,
Yeah.
like note wise. It's not even a right note on some levels. Like the way it hits the flow, you're like, what? Then you're like, that's a different level of brilliance. That's like, why are you such a good guitar fanatic? You're like, no, you don't understand. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's when you're like, no, you don't understand how the song was written on guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a win. That guitar is definitely a win. I love that guitar. I noticed that, and that was like one of the first things I noticed when you were playing. I was like, I love that guitar.
Well, it's very cool because it's one of the, I think it's a 2017 faded. So
Mm-hmm.
it's got like, I don't know, it's not like super glossy, but it's not like a super, I guess, dry. It still has
Yes,
a bit of,
it looks alive and warm. It doesn't look matte, like a matte color. Like
right.
I got
Yeah.
a guitar behind me. That black one is a matte.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not a matte finish, but it's not like
Mm-hmm.
super, super glossy either. It's
Which is
like,
good because sometimes it gets scratched up easy and it's kind of hard to see with the lights.
or like I have the Jerry James Nichols Epiphone, and that's got kind of a gloss. I think it's like a glossy.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, let's see that one. Let's check that one. I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah. I can show that really quick.
Yeah.
Yes. So okay. It's very, very dusty. But
Sorry
yeah,
about that. I know. A little spontaneous. So to this point, he was not aware of me doing this. I like to go for the live original
yeah,
wherever we're going talk, you know.
right. So yeah, this is the Jared's guitar, and it's great because I mean I was really excited to actually it's just kind of a neat story with this guitar.
Yeah.
I had a huge airway procedure. Basically, long story short, I had an open stoma, a hole in my neck for a very long time because my airway is very, very small. So basically, there was this whole ordeal to get the stoma closed up, and I was in the hospital for quite a while. And so when I was finally well enough, I was able to, had a guitar in my hands again. I was, very happy. But when I was in the hospital, I was playing one of Jared's tunes, and it was like mom kind of posted it as one of the just kind of updates on how I was doing, and just okay, I'm playing again, I'm feeling good, and
He's so good, Jared.
Jared's amazing, and yeah, and Jared saw it and he reposted it. That's funny because I remember I'm tied to my IV pole and I'm coming back from music therapy. I remember you had to take the elevator and all
Yeah.
that. We're finally back at my room and all that. And I'm walking. I hadn't been on my phone in a while. I take out my phone and I see, this call from Dad. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I'm like, what's going on? He's like, have you checked Instagram at the last half hour? I'm like, no. He's like, go check it out now. I'm like, okay. And I saw that Jared had reposted the video, and he said, Pete, this really made my day. When I'm in Chicago, on tour with John Five, you know, um, come on stage and be my special guest. I'd love to jam. And I was like, what? So, yeah, we talked on the phone later that night, and it was great because I mean, I had such a
Doesn't surprise me because he seems like such a nice guy. So this totally sounds like where I think he is.
He's a super nice guy, and I had such a emotional, crazy week being in the hospital and all that, and just talking to him on the phone and chatting for a few minutes, it really made my day. And when he did jam in Chicago a month or so later, it was awesome. It was a great time. And one of the things after I had to have a little follow-up procedure in like the next couple of weeks to see how I was doing. We went down to Chicago Music Exchange. They'd heard that I'd be playing with Jared, and they actually gave me this guitar. They said, yeah.
That's awesome. So that is fantastic. I want to say one thing. I have not glossed over by any means the procedures and new stuff you've done. I appreciate you doing that. But I want everybody, we're going to put the post up. I want everybody to go look on his website, and his mom and his dad, they get props. They're just killer parents and supportive. And the stuff you've gone through is amazing, and the bullying, but it's already there, and you have it done so well. There's no need to be like competing with something that's done perfect. You know what I mean? There's no need for me to do that. So people go and learn all this stuff because it's fantastic. The stuff that he's not just a good guitar player. You'll be amazed what he's gone through, and he's still smiling and a happy jamming guitar player. So there's more to him, but this is just a piece that I wanted to represent that I don't think gets enough, shine. of who you are. So I just want to say I wasn't.
No, I get it. But I mean, okay, yeah, back with the guitar. I mean, this
Yeah,
is really
please.
it's you know, I do love Leslie West, and I know Jared's a big fan of
Oh yeah.
um so to me, I was excited to get a guitar with a P90 in it. This is still like the only guitar that I have with a P90 in it. And it's really fun because it is kind of a junior type thing. And now I was at a Sweetwater Sound. We were there like a month ago. We actually saw Dirty Honey. That's where we were there. But and we stopped at Sweetwater, and I was actually messing around with SG Junior quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's on a guitar. Yeah. But yeah, I love how these guitars sound. They're great.
It looks great. I've heard him play it, and it looks like a really good guitar. I've yet to get my hands on it. Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Any guitar in Jared's hands is gonna sound pretty killer.
Well, yeah, he is. He's another one, an up and coming.
Yes.
You know,
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
he's interesting because he's not on a full on like rock star level, but he's so known and respected on a rock star level with rock stars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's weird
Yeah.
because like there's a certain level where he hasn't made. Maybe because it's like not like commercially radio sound wise. Maybe you know what I mean. You're not naming his. Not everyone's not naming his songs, but anybody that holds a guitar knows who he is and goes, "Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty badass." You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it is very different. But yeah, and he's got a new EP coming out soon, and I'm excited to listen to that. Sounds
I'll have to talk to him at one point too. It's been awesome, dude, man. I want to thank you for being on the show. This has been good. I want to we're gonna have everything, all the links for all your stuff below.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to also this album if you're hearing some of your stuff, even you releasing a single or something prior to not making us wait.
We still gotta get.
I know. I'm not putting you on. I'm just saying I'm excited to hear it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I love your playing.
Me too.
I like I love your knowledge of music. So to me, I'm very excited to hear it, and waiting might even be better, just to get me more excited for it. You know.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can kind of get things moving soon. At least record in the fall. That to me is kind of hopefully the fall, and then we'll work on stuff, for promotion in the winter probably, and then my hope would be spring. But I mean, it's all probably.
I want to thank you for being on the show, and we'll have you back soon once you got some more music for us, man. All right.
Thank you so much.
It's awesome. You take care. Okay. Take care. Bye.